Well, girls, it is that time of year. Summer is just around the corner. It is that time of year. It is time to start thinking about swimsuits and trying on swimsuits. I hate trying on swimsuits. Anybody else? Any sisters in the house this morning? I mean, I just dread the thought of going into the dressing room to try on a swimsuit. Every time I go into the dressing room, I think about a friend of mine named Kelly. Kelly is a singer. She does special music at a lot of different functions, and there was once a couple of years ago when she was going to sing at a fundraiser for Crisis Pregnancy Center. The guest speaker for the day was going to be Barbara Dooley, and Kelly, who is just as Southern can be, was just starstruck with Barbara Dooley. And so what should happen to Kelly when she went into the ladies' room, but she ran into Barbara Dooley. And so my friend Kelly was just starstruck. She's talking to Barbara, you know, but when you've got to go, you've got to go. She's doing the potty dance. She's talking to Barbara. And then Barbara went on her way. Kelly went into the stall, and she said while she was sitting there doing what she had to do, she dropped her camera phone. She dropped her phone. And when she dropped her phone, the camera flashed. And so she didn't think a whole lot about it. She put her phone back in her pocket, and she had it out. She sang. She did beautifully that night, like she always does. And then a couple of weeks later, her husband pulled out her phone to download the pictures. She didn't know what he was doing. She just heard him call her name, and he said, "Kelly, can you come look at this computer screen and tell me what in the world you've been taking pictures of?" And so she went into the computer room. She went in, she's looking at the computer, and she said she looks at the screen, and then she does this, and then she does this. She's cocking her head every direction to try to figure out what in the world is on the screen. And she said she looked real close, and she said to her husband, she said, "Well, if I didn't know better, I would think that was the hood of a tan Buick with hail damage." And then she looked a little bit closer, and she said it was her upper thigh. So ladies, swimsuit season is just around the corner. I should have told you that before dessert, shouldn't I? That would have killed all the fun, though, wouldn't it? We are here today. It is such a fun hats day, isn't it? I mean, we are here to celebrate and have a really good time together. But I want to say to you, for all of the many hats you wear, I take my hat off to you today. Hats off to you, ladies. It's going to be a hats off kind of day today, because we are here to celebrate each other. We are here to celebrate the fact that we are women, and we're striving to be like the Proverbs 31 woman. But I celebrate you. It is a joy and a privilege to be here with you on this fine Saturday morning. I can't think of any place I'd rather be than right here with you and right in the presence of the Lord. You know, Jesus himself said in Matthew chapter 20, verse 18, verse 20, he said, "Where 2 or 3 are gathered, there am I also." So we are right in the presence of the Lord. What a grand and glorious thing to remember, isn't it? Hats off to you, ladies, for the many hats you wear. When I think about collectively where we have been in the last week and the things that we all have done, it makes me tired just thinking about it. The Hats fashion show exhausted me just to see it. All of the things those 4 women do, much less all of us collectively. It is quite amazing, isn't it? If we were a Dr. Seuss book, I think we would be titled, "Oh, the places they go, oh, the hats they wear," because we wear so many hats. In this room we have wives, we have mothers, we have daughters, we have grandmothers, granddaughters, nieces, cousins, aunts. We have people who are full-time employed, self-employed, part-time employed. We have volunteers, we have caregivers. You name it, the list goes on and on and on. Doesn't it make you tired just thinking about everything we do as women? And I would love to sit down with each of you. If I had time, I'd like to sit down with each of you and have you tell me some of the hats you wear. But because we don't have time for that, I thought it would be fun to have you get with a buddy, a partner, and I want you to share with somebody that you don't know a couple or 3 of the hats that you've worn in the last week, a couple of 3 places that you've gone. Let's just do that for a minute, okay? Just get with somebody you don't know and share for a minute about the hats you wear. women laughing. I love the sound of Bible pages turning too, but it's so wonderful to hear the chatter of women in the room. And I was thinking as I was listening to you, what a different picture it would have been if I had said to a group of men, I want you to turn and tell the people around you about a couple of the hats you wear. I mean, my husband and I ran into a couple at the grocery store one time, and it was after I had led a retreat. And so I told my husband on the way home that Saturday, I said, I don't have one word left. I don't have one word left. And then we stopped off at the grocery store, and we ran into a couple that we knew. And so I started talking to my friend, the wife, and we were just chattering nonstop for quite some time. My husband and her husband, who were very good friends too, talked for just a little bit, and later my husband said, well, it didn't take us as long to catch up. The chatter of women, I really love it, and I love the fact that we're here together as friends of one another and as friends of the Lord. One of my favorite hats to wear is the friendship hat. Maybe it is yours too, and I'm so thankful and grateful for some of my friends who have come today, who have been sitting with me this morning. Mary, do you mind if I tell a friendship story from us? I'm going to. She doesn't mind. She doesn't mind, I promise you. I like going places with my friends. Mary has been a good friend to me through the years, and so one day, and you have to know, Mary and I like to pray together. We like to do Bible study together, and so Mary had read in the newspaper one time about this church in Calhoun, Georgia, that was having a revival service. And so it said in the paper that this church had been having services for months on end, night after night, months on end. And so Mary called me and she said, you know, there's this great outpouring of God at this church in Calhoun. And she said, would you like to go with me to that revival service on Friday night? And I said, yeah, sure. I'm all up for that. And so we headed out that Friday afternoon to go to Calhoun, Georgia for this revival service. And when we pulled into the parking lot, it was just like it had been printed in the paper. I mean, there was a picture there. The parking lot was filled with cars. I mean, it was packed. No place else to park. We got inside, and when we got inside, sure enough, the church building was packed too. And so here we are, we're good little Baptist girls. We slid into about the second row from the back or so, as I remember it. And we took our comfortable little spot there, and everything was going along just fine until the service got started. Well, when the service got started, the music was wild, and I mean really wild and crazy. And there were people raising their arms and dancing in the aisles, and there was all of this stuff going on that we didn't too much understand as good little Baptist girls. And so here we are kind of minding our own business, and we're watching what's going on. We don't understand a lot. There's languages we didn't understand, and then the pastor got up to speak, and when he got up to speak, we could understand what he was saying. And so he began to say something like, if you want more of God, you need to come on down front. And so we're sitting there watching what's going on. The music cranks up, and there's officials with name badges that lined up across the front of the church. There's languages going on we don't understand, but we do see that people are getting in line in front of these officials. And when they get down to the front of the line, the official says a few words over them. Then there were people just falling out all across the church. And so we're watching what's going on. The music's wild. Everything that's going on is wild. We don't quite understand it. And then Mary, who is a very petite little person, looks back at me, and she starts walking out into the aisle because the pastor is still saying, if you want more of God, come on down front. And so Mary heads out down that way, and I'm following her, and we got to about the third row from the front. I slid in to the third row. Mary about that time looked back at me, and she said, well, don't you want more of God? And I said, thank you very much. I want to see what happens to you first. And so Mary, who does not lack for courage, heads down front, and here she is, a petite little thing, and there's a woman with a name badge on who is towering over Mary. And so Mary's standing there, and the woman says a few words over Mary, and she touches Mary on the forehead. Mary stood firm. And so then the woman looks a little bit more strongly at Mary, touches her a little more firmly, says a few more words, and Mary stands firm. And so then the woman, as I remember it, must have decided she needed reinforcements for my little friend, because she called a couple more people over, and these people came over, and now they have name badges on, and my friend Mary's surrounded by these people who are saying words a little bit more strongly, who are touching her a little bit more forcefully, and they said a few few words, touched her on the forehead. Mary stood firm. Well, I guess they gave up on her because they turned and left, and she came walking back where I was, and about that time she said to me, she said, come on, let's get out of here. I didn't get more of God. All I got was push.